Hey everyone, it's Shauna the Tax Goddess. I know I've been gone for a bit. It was tax season. I don't really like tax season all that much. But I got a million questions during tax season, and I always want to make sure to try to answer the questions that you guys think are the most important. So today I wanted to cover some tax strategies for the gig economy and freelance workers. Three main areas that I was getting questions on. So the first one is those pesky self-employment taxes. What do we do about those? Second one, some deductions, some credits, things to be looking out for. And of course, the third one is, how do I retire working a gig? So I want to start off by saying, listen, in my mind, there are really two different kinds of gigs, okay? There's the kind where you have a full-time job, so you're W-2 working for somebody else, and then secondarily, you have another gig on the side. So maybe you're driving for Uber, driving for Lyft, you're doing Walmart deliveries, whatever it is. So that's kind of the first kind of gig work. Now, the second gig economy work is somebody who is full-time, doing Uber, Lyft, Walmart delivery groceries, whatever that is, Uber Eats, one of my favorites. So really the biggest difference, especially when it comes to those self-employment taxes, is that if you are doing your gig as a side gig, like not really your main source of revenue, you're doing it as a side gig, normally you can cover the amount that you may owe for your self-employment taxes using the withholding that your business, that you're paying through your W-2, okay? Now, if you have a profit on your gig, okay, so let's just pick, for purposes of today's video, we're gonna pick that you are driving for Uber, okay? If you make a profit at driving for Uber, so you go, you do some drives, you bring in $1,000 worth of revenue, gross revenue, which is the total amount of money you bring in, but then you get deductions like your cell phone, the mileage on your car, maybe gasoline for your car, tire repairs, maybe you bought a charging cable for your back seat, maybe some air fresheners for your car. Those are all going to be expenses against your gross revenue. And what's left is your net profit. You only pay self-employment taxes on your net profit. Now, assuming that you have a net profit, because if you don't have a net profit, why would you be doing the side gig in the first place? But assuming you have a net profit, those self-employment taxes are 15.3% of whatever the net profit is. So if you make net profit of $1,000, you're going to owe an extra $153 in self-employment taxes, which is FICA and Medicare, on that net profit. Now, the reason why I'm saying that typically if you have a W-2, most W-2 people withhold a little bit extra out of their W-2 paychecks. That extra withholding can often cover the self-employment taxes, but definitely something to check with your tax preparer. Tax Goddess does not prepare tax returns. We are only on the strategy side. So of course, our side is to help you reduce that net profit as far as humanly possible, okay? Now, if you are a full-time gig worker, so you drive 100% for Uber, right? You do not have another W-2 job where you're already withholding taxes. You're going to want to look at paying some self-employment taxes, probably quarterly. Now, again, self-employment taxes and income taxes are 100% based on whether or not you have profit. So if you were able to use deductions, like let's say your dog comes with you in the car for security, your dog may be a write-off as a security puppy, okay, security dogs. So that would mean food, vet bills, shots, anything like that that your dog needs so that your dog can come with you as security on your rides, okay? Now, really what you're looking at, again, gross revenue minus all your expenses to get to net profit. Assuming you have a net profit positive, you will have some self-employment taxes. You'll also have income taxes. So we've talked about some of the common expenses that are deductible. So again, the charging cable, the freshener for your car, maybe some dog security expenses if your pup is coming with you to either provide security for you as you're driving, or maybe I've even seen cases where the dog is maybe like a super chill service dog, and you promote your specific Uber ride as a PTSD-friendly environment, right? So calm, soothing music and a puppy to pet while you're driving, okay? So those could all lead to your dog also being a deduction. Now, keeping really good records, super important. Everybody always asks me how I do this. anytime I pay for anything, I whip out my phone and I snap a picture of the receipt and then I store it in my phone. And one of the things that I love about doing it that way is that, firstly, at the end of the year, when I go to put together my books for my tax preparer, prepare my taxes, I can just flip back through the photos and I can see the date, the time, the date and time stamp, which is super important in case you ever get an audit. I can see all of that in my actual receipts in my photos. So I love taking it the photo route. You can, of course, many people still love that paper and pencil. So keeping a written book in the car or whichever kinds of receipt method management you want to use, that's an option as well. And I have heard that QuickBooks now has the opportunity to add your receipts into your bookkeeping. So if you're using the automated bookkeeping services through QuickBooks, you can also store your receipts there. Now, if this is your full-time job, you may also be eligible for some credits. So depending on how much you earn, one of the ones that we see, especially with our Uber and Lyft drivers, is something called the Earned Income Tax Credit. It's typically eligible for freelancers. You may also get an energy efficient credit if you purchased one of the electric vehicles. So that one probably needs its whole own video because that's a very specialty kind of thing. But ChatGPT, check it out with ChatGPT or Gemini, or of course some of our other YouTube videos here on YouTube for some of the energy efficient options. Now, third and last, okay, if this is your full-time gig, if you are an Uber driver per our example, and it is your full-time gig, I would absolutely recommend that you start saving at least a little bit for retirement, okay? There's lots of different retirement options out there. Maybe you've heard some of these words or terms: IRA, SEP IRA, simple IRA. Depending on how much profit you make and how much of that money you actually want to set aside for retirement, IRAs are anywhere in the $6,000 to $7,000 to $8,000 range if you want to put away for retirement. SEPs and simples can go as high as 25% of whatever your net profit is. So if you're actually taking home $40,000 a year from your Uber side gig here, your full-time gig work economy, you might be able to put away up to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 into retirement every single year, okay? Now, one of the big issues that I see when people set up a retirement account, I have seen people just set up a separate bank account for retirement. That's okay, but you won't get the same tax deductions as if you actually use what's called a qualified account. And normally you would set those up through either your bank, your credit union, or maybe even something like an E-Trade or a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity. They all have those kinds of accounts. So your IRAs, your simple IRAs, your SEP IRAs, your solo 401ks, there's a million different options, okay? So lots of things to think about if you are a gig worker, all right? Now, of course, for those of you watching our channel, we tend to focus on business owners, and gig workers are business owners. So if you're making more than about $100,000 a year in tax payments, maybe you've got a whole fleet of Uber cars, or you're a nurse practitioner that is doing gig work on the side as a 1099, those are the kinds of clients that we help reduce their tax burdens. So always looking at strategies that can help both the little guy who's making $100 worth of profit and the really big guys that are making $1 million worth of profit that need to reduce their taxes. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to our team, or better yet, throw some ideas in the comments. I am going to be trying to film a video every single day. We'll see if I can keep this up. And I'd love to be answering questions. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.